Okay, I think it's recording. I think so. My goodness, I cannot get Zoom, guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Far Out Wisdom podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. To give you guys some context about the discussion I had with Brandon Hayes and Sean Seaberg and why I chose to have them on FOW, I would like to play this video of Dr. Jordan Peterson answering one of my questions in the April 2019 before his Q&A before his debate with Zizek.
God. Boone Hem, Dr. Peterson. I recently found out that my father was a former Khmer Rouge. Now, the Khmer Rouge exiled and killed millions of people in Cambodia. So this is a rough discovery. I feel hurt that he was part of the horror in Cambodia. How do I deal with this? Well, you know, the first thing I'd recommend is that you read a book, and the book is called Ordinary Men. And it's a story about how ordinary men in Germany, policemen, were trained and encouraged to become cold-blooded murderers of naked pregnant women in Poland during World War II. And it's a horrifying book. And so you might think, well, why in the world would you read a horrifying book of that nature? And I would say because it will help you understand that people who did such things were, in Nietzsche's phrase, human, all too human, and might help you bridge the gap between the father that you thought you knew and the father that once was, and to bridge the gap between you and those two. If you understand that the sorts of things that your father may have been involved in, or the organization at least that he was involved with, if you understand that people, including yourself, have the propensity to behave in that manner, and that it's not something unique to your father, terrible though it may be, if it's part of the, what would you say, the eternal proclivity for malevolence and evil that's part and parcel of the human spirit, you know, as the Catholics have always insisted with their doctrine of original sin, then that may allow you to understand the situation of your father better. That's the first thing, is that you have to learn something about evil, and you have to learn something about how it possesses people. And you have to learn something about how it possesses ordinary people. And that will mean you'll have to learn something about how it might possess you. And that's rough learning. So you've got rough learning to do. And then the next thing I would say is, look, it was a long time ago. And what's your father been like for you? You know, like maybe he's changed. You know, people can repent and rejoin the world. That the Christian idea, which is a remarkable one, is that there's no sin that you can commit that's so terrible that you can't be redeemed. Now, people laugh at that idea because they think, well, that means that you can, they think cynically, that means that you can be the worst and the most impulsive sinner possible throughout your entire life, and then conveniently, in the moments before death, repent and, you know, enter the everlasting kingdom of God. And unfortunately, it's not that simple, because to repent and to be redeemed is to truly understand what you did, to allow the parts of yourself that did that to wither away and die or burn away, which I think is a better metaphor, because there's plenty of pain involved, to chart a new course and to swear by everything that's holy that you're going to stay on it. And maybe your dad did that. And so in which case, your job is to find out how, even now, knowing something about the evil that can possess people, and even people that you love, even yourself. You'll have to find it within you to forgive if you determine that this man, with all the hidden complexity that you've now discovered, is someone you love. And so good luck, because that's a tough road you've got to walk there. So I'd like to.
Okay, so yeah, you can see that Q&A. You could just type in April 2019 Q&A, and pretty much at the 46-minute mark, you will kind of realize that. So as you can see from my background, that's pretty much how I grew up. I grew up around a lot of former radicals, and that's pretty much what we are talking majority of the time in this discussion. We pretty much did some sense making, real sense making. And the reason why I say that is I chose them to put these two on file because it's podcasts are a great tool to catch conversation, uninterrupted conversation. And as you guys can see, I try not to, when Brandon and Sean were thinking or talking, I try not to interrupt. And Jordan Hall and David Fuller did that. They interrupted Brandon, not constantly, but you can just see them doing, and he couldn't complete his sentence. So he didn't have enough time. So that's pretty much why I had Brandon and Sean to talk about these, what happened basically. And I can't break down everything in this introduction. And I apologize for that. But if you have to look at the conversation between this YouTube channel right here. I mean, Jordan Hall's YouTube channel. So you can look up Conversation with Brendan Hayes. It's still up. David did not, he unlisted the conversation that he had with Brandon. It's unlisted in Rebel Wisdom. You can go to the Good Dudes show. They have it there as well. And in this discussion, or the conversation that I had together, David and Brandon, they were talking about this article right here that David wrote on Brandon. It's called Sensemaking and Gatekeeping, Talking with Fascists by David Fuller. And that's where it kind of not, it didn't piss me off. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not a good word to use, but it made me kind of think to myself, we are in a time right now where we are labeling everybody a fucking fascist, stuff like that. Let's going back to Jordan Peterson, what he said to me, what he told me. As growing up around fascists, and the Khmer Rouge, in my personal opinion, they're similar to National Socialist, Communist, fascists, like Maoism. I came to the realization that I could be radical as well. And when you write, I shouldn't say this, when you write shit like this, you're going to make the conversation more muddy. And like I said, in the discussion that you're about to see, who the fuck are you to be responsible in gatekeeping? I didn't vote you in. But yeah, so to understand what the conversation that me and Brandon and Sean were talking about, you have to look up these YouTube channels before you even start watching the conversation that you're about to see. But I wanted to end this introduction. Basically, I also did a podcast episode about Gandhi writing a letter to Adolf Hitler. But as you can see, even Gandhi called Hitler his friend. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make sense of the world. I'm trying to do real sense making and talking to people that fundamentally probably disagree with me politically. But I'm not going to demoralize them. I'm not going to call them names or anything like that. I just want to understand why they're in the position that they're in. And living with a fascist or a Khmer Rouge all my life, a former Khmer Rouge all my life, it has taught me to be tolerant. It has taught me about humanity. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. And remember, I'm on, you can check me out, the Far Out Wisdom podcast at poppy.com. If you see the smoking Buddha, that's my signature. And of course, the yin yang. So pretty much I have all my podcast episodes here. And as you guys can see, I have a sponsor and stuff like that, but I'm not going to talk about my sponsor or anything like that because I really want to, I know you guys want to listen to the conversation. And I'm also on Pod Page. So I'm also on Instagram, pretty much all social media. So if you really enjoy the conversation with Mr. Hayes and Mr. Seaberg, remember to like, love, share. I'm not really sure how to disable, like my comment section in my YouTube channel is disabled for some fucking reason. I don't know why YouTube is like that, but this is probably like the first podcast I'm going to put on YouTube with video. So please love, like, share, caress my channel. Remember to donate if you like this conversation. And if you want more, I could do a part 2 with Brandon and Sean, and maybe with Leo Disforge. I think I pronounced his name correctly. As always, guys, stay far out. Bye. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so we're both recording.
Boom.
Yes.
So it is. It's the three dots on the other person's profile, and allowed to record local files. That's the.
You want to just jump into it?
Well, I mean, we're recording, so we jumped into it. I don't cut anything out of my videos because that is a waste of time.
So we're trying to figure this out because I really I like both of us to have this because I think looking at the interview what you did with Jordan and David. I know you don't want to like name drop or anything like that. I know.
Why don't we do this? Because this will be more fun. Why don't you treat this like a girl talk session? We can name drop as much as you like.
But the thing is, we're not supposed to gossip. We're not supposed to gossip.
Okay. Why don't we set parameters for gossip then? If I'm testifying behind someone's back, meaning I'm telling someone about you, and I tell the truth, I'm updating them for you.
Okay.
If I do a good job, but I have to do you justice. And the chances that I do you justice with my words, like meaning I match your character with my words, are slim.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
it's not wise to do most of the time.
Let's start it. So we're both recording. It's going to be on your stuff, and then it's going to be on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. So basically, how we met, we were not in the same group together. I don't know.
Am I in any groups with you at all?
I don't think so. I think I met you through Sean, his
Seaberg.
Yeah.
Who's supposed to jump in on this?
He's going to jump in a little bit late because I think he works in the morning. And so, and then I started to see you around the groups and stuff like that. I didn't know who you are. And then I started to, you had the Propertarians and stuff like that on your page. And I always find you a fascinating character. I think you're very intelligent. I think you're very funny. You are very chill.
This is already going better than my last interview.
No, seriously. Like, I
was being told I had enemies in the last interview.
No, like I thought you're a pretty interesting character, and you learn a lot. I learn a lot from you, and I really enjoy, seeing your Facebook posts and stuff like that because it teaches me. I like learning new things, and you're pretty far out.
That makes me feel good and allow you to let me share some guilt I have with you.
Okay.
The whole thing. I don't follow your work. I don't have any idea what you do. Like, I don't listen to your podcast. I know that it's called something far out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know your guests. So I'm flying blind here.
You're gonna have fun.
Other than your interactions with me in public and our private chat, which has been nothing but it's been nothing but.
It's fun. We're fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
You are actually you, mm-hmm. which is a relief most of the time.
Yeah, well, because I feel like looking at like I said, we're not in the same groups or anything like that. But every time I see, I go to my friends to get advice on the Propertarians, I'm like, you know what? Not advice. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. Trying to get more information. But the mistake that I made.
Can I interject when you talk?
Yeah.
Because I won't if you don't like it.
Go for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an open discussion.
When you said advice,
Yeah.
What you said was what most people do, which is incorrect. So I'll make
Right.
a technical judgment. It's like, well, you shouldn't get your advice about people by who they affiliate with, because their groups can't encapsulate who they are. They transcend all the groups that they're in, which is why the SJW stuff runs amok. It's because you can't actually play a game like they're playing. Nobody wins. The rules are garbage. So by clustering people and judging them by their clusters is an error, unless you're being very baser on your clusters, meaning we should be able to assume that women are women and men are men, and then work from there. And that what the distinct race sets, like whites, blacks, Asians, and say pygmies, if you really want to get specific on the type, like they are also different people with different aims and so on. Not that you can't transcend those categories too in your actions, but to take away what the basis of communication. So for me to be able to make a snap judgment by your signals, because you're supposed to signal who you are, otherwise you're being deceitful.
Right.
If I can't make that snap judgment, then I'm at a loss, and you got to do a lot of explaining, which is wasting time.
Exactly. So like I said, when I went to people that, learn about the Propertarians, I feel like you said, I made a mistake. I made the mistake because I feel like I should have gone directly toward somebody who's a Propertarian, which I'm doing right at the moment. So that's the mistake that I'm having, because
Here, you want me, I can do you justice.
Like pretty much like when I came across you, my first impression was that, oh, okay, the Propertarians, whatever. I didn't really think about it. And then you guys got accusation, and especially the David Filler. Like I said, I really don't want to name drop, but he wrote a hit piece about you.
So what you're saying is the conflict brought me attention.
Yes. Actually, it got you attention before. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, because the reason why I say this is because you got purged from Facebook, and you're back. Yeah, you got purged, and this is before the election. So I agree with you that
right before, in fact.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think so. They the day before the election.
Did all the? Well, I think you're the only one on my friends list who's a Propertarian. I think there was another person, and then he got removed. He got purged as well. He never came back.
Sean. Do you know who that was?
I forgot his name. It was like a little young guy, and he looks like a total nerd. That's my first impression of you too. I'm like, oh, he's such a dork.
No offense taken, and we are kind of nerds, so
yes, yeah. So, and the thing that I didn't like about the hit piece about David, because the fact that he did an interview with Leo. Can you pronounce his last name for me? I can't pronounce it. DeForge, yeah.
Unless I butchered it, because I did very frequently.
So he did his first interview. That's when it kind of caught my attention. You guys caught my attention. Was Leo?
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand where you're at now.
Yeah. And then I tried to look for the interview to kind of prepare for this podcast. I can't find it. He removed it again. Yes. He removed it from Rebellism. He removed it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's not there no more. I don't know.
Keep talking, because I want to see something.
Can you share your screen with everybody so they can know too? I can't find it. And then I couldn't find your interview as well with him, but Jordan Hall did. He posts the interview that you guys did together. The thing that this is a message for David and Jordan. Like, I totally get, talking to Brandon and stuff like that, but I just think it's kind of like unnecessary to straight up make them seem like they're Nazis. Does that make sense? Like, I get Nazi Germany.
Here's the thing. If it came off like that is what, if that is what's going on, if it came off that way, then maybe there is an apology due. But what I see is people defending the things that they love.
Right.
I don't blame anyone for being who they are. What I'm trying to explain to people is that people differ across. They have extreme differences. And if you don't ameliorate those differences, or at least create understanding, people conflict.
Right.
And where you don't have those conflicts, all you do is accrue interest in the future, meaning those conflicts play out, but they play out in catastrophe because you didn't come to resolution ever.
Yes.
When you don't come to resolution, that nothing new happens. You go about creating violent debt. So I'm only trying to find the video that you said was removed.
The
I
one that he
think-
did the interview with, I think it was like Leo. I think it's when it was on like
I
December.
think I have it. So I will send you a link here.
Yeah, in December.
So
Yeah.
go on, because I forget what I was saying.
And to people watching, I have a ear infection, so I'm kind of slow. Whereas
Oh yeah, how are you feeling? And
I feel like
don't
crap.
mind me- Okay, sorry to hear that. And if you don't mind me asking, what they put you on for drugs?
They put me on drugs. They put me on asthma inhaler, and then he put me on antibiotics for my ears, both my ears.
Have you been on an asthma inhaler before?
Yes, because so I have COPD, and
You have
so
an ear infection?
and then I have an ear infection, and then on top of that, I'm on antibiotics now, so I'm a little bit slow, and I really apologize, guys. So when Sean comes on, it's going to be more interesting.
What did they give you for an antibiotic?
They gave me that medication's over there. It's what the ear infection medication. It's for eye drops, but you can use it for your ears.
Interesting.
So, I know, and so that's what I'm using at the moment. And I knew that something was wrong when I was I'm losing balance. Does that make sense? I got really I'm losing balance, and
Pretty bad ear infection.
Right. And so
the equilibrium, if you will.
And then I got really, really so I sent Brandon a message on Thursday, and I cancel it today. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to appear as a coward. Because I mean, people like, okay, this is going back to the beginning where people were like saying about the propertarians being fascist and stuff like that. So people, I didn't want to get the impression that I was afraid, because
like you're like standing up to me by being my friend.
Yes. And so but the thing is, I mean, this is, like I said, this is for people who, you guys have to watch the David, well, it's not, David took it, he removed it. It's not on his the interview that you did with David, it's not on his
it's unlisted. I can get it. I can get it to them.
So I'm gonna link all the information below, guys, so you guys can kind of know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna list the Jordan Hall, and I'm gonna list the David Filler. And so what I'm trying to achieve today is try to give Brandon a platform. He needs to speak his mind, because I feel like
you don't want that. Nobody wants that.
And I think, because if you let me say it like this. So the intellectual dark web, they stand for free speech. And if Brandon's idea are bad, why can't you guys just platform him and let him? Sean's here. Sean's here. So we were talking about like free speech, Sean. So if he
Hey, so can you, before you go on, can you let me know how to pronounce your name?
My name is Boone Spoon Moon.
That's how I was gonna pronounce it. Sean, what Boone is getting at is she was upset that the Fuller and Hall interviews looked framed me improperly.
It you know what I think it is, and I shouldn't. And then Jordan, if Jordan and David, you guys have a chance, you guys can email me, whatever. I don't care. I'm a little firecracker.
I will share the video with Jordan, because we are in touch with each other. And here, why don't I give you a tactical, an inside look at the tactics of someone nefarious. If I drop your name in a fucking podcast, you get a copy, because that's how this works.
It's just being truthful. You know what I mean? We live in a society of liars. So
that is unfortunate, but it is true.
Yes. So what we were talking about, Sean, was that I felt that it was kind of unfair that they frame Brandon like this, like Hitler. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like because the argument that they were making was, okay, they're Jewish, right? And I think Jordan
Jewish.
I don't know if either of them. I don't know if either of them actually identify as such.
Well, didn't Jordan say
Jordan
that?
does.
Yeah,
Jordan says he's ethnically Jewish, but that he has no background in the religion. Well, I don't people up for their priors that they don't choose. Here, why don't I give you? Everyone does their opinion on what goes on everywhere. And now that I have not only someone who wants to platform me, but I also have a character witness, why don't I talk a little bit about the frame that I saw going into the interviews?
Okay.
This is what I didn't like about the setup. The written piece was written before the interview with me and David, after he had saw the interview with me and Jordan. So the written piece was first, and Jordan had read the written piece before they had a conversation together, talking about the conversation that we had, which means after those two things happen, so after the piece and after the discussion, then I talked to Fuller. So he was defending the frames that he already built. He put himself at a disadvantage because he thought he was going to get something that he didn't get.
Right.
And that's, well, it's technically an error in journalism,
Right.
And which is the domain he was trying to gatekeep for, which only further proves that gatekeeping is a stupid thing to do.
Right.
It's very silly when it comes to, you keep gates when there are barbarians at gates, not when there are ideas you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's a slur, calling people barbarians.
Oh, yikes.
I don't get the impression that Brandon and Sean are barbarians, that's for sure. But this is true, Jordan. So the thing that I thought about the interview with Jordan was that he was being over dramatic. Like, tell me about the Jews.
Okay. Here's the thing. Have you watched his videos in the past?
No, this is the first time I ever came across him.
Have you had a conversation with him personally?
No, because he doesn't talk to me.
All right. Well, all right. Let me do some more defense here.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk to many people because he thinks his time is precious, and he is correct. Yes. And he actually does have coordinating and cooperative abilities that transcend others by magnitudes. It's not close. Like, some people think they can have a conversation on the level that Jordan can with other people, and the answer is you cannot. So stop trying. Mm-hmm. Because he has expertise in that arena.
Right.
What I saw him doing, firstly, he chose a set of people to release conversations about at the same time. So I'm part of that set. I forget who they are, but they included the likes of Matthew Perkowski, who, as far as I can tell, is a genius.
Right.
So he set me in that set of people. He chose a particular thumbnail for the video, which looks like someone being knighted, as far as I can tell. And what he had to do, or what he thought he had to do in that conversation, and this is me speculating about.
Can I stop you real quick? What does that mean? Like, when they knight somebody, what does that mean? Like, the symbolism in that?
That's someone. It's to bestow them honor and title. Meaning, now you get to be Sir whoever, and that Sir carries the weight of the honor that you earned.
To do important quests.
Was it, Sean?
I missed you.
To do important quests and then to protect the realm.
Oh, sure. Okay. It also, yes, he's saying that you can be called upon, and the sirs can be called upon in order to do things in the future because they have proven reliable. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Okay. So symbolism, smart.
Yeah.
And the final thing is, Jordan doesn't like to have conversations in which the audience is a thing.
Okay.
Which is impossible to do. The audience always acts like a specter, but what I try to do is the same thing, meaning I want to have a conversation with you and with Sean and forget that people are going to watch this, but people are going to watch it because you're going to post it. That's what you do. So there's no fully accounting for that unless you do what I did at the beginning of these exercises, which was I allowed other people to have the recordings and I didn't record, and I told them not to tell me if it was recording. And they only updated the stuff now that you can tell visually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seemed to me like he was protecting me and himself from his audience because he knew that they were going to other people for their associations, meaning they play, what herds do you belong to? And if you're attached to a group of people that they don't like, they judge you as that group. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how he knows that audience is going to look at what went down. Hey, you went outside of the group limits. The group doesn't like that. And he was tempering for that response.
Game B, metamodernists. We had come across I had, at the very least, I believe Brandon too, the people, quote unquote, call themselves meta-modernists within the Game B crowd, which aim to take things beyond postmodernism. Unfortunately, it seemed like the most ardent, outspoken people that we came across tended to bring along with them some of the same postmodern games that are unraveling our civilization society as I see it right before our eyes, meaning there's like a lot of claims of like racism, but crypto racism. Like,
what's crypto racism? What's that?
Crypto racism, good question. Yeah. Crypto racism is when you're being cryptic with your racism, which means you're hiding it in really subtle tones.
Okay.
You could relate it to the term dog whistling a bit. And it's like things that you can't prove or unprove.
Is it like a subtle microaggression?
I believe that's
micro
within
racism.
the realm of that too, because it's like
microaggression.
I had to point out to and there was a black young man that I was trying to really be charitable with, because he was a really nice guy and he was really smart, but he kept coming back to this point. And I this is before we were kicked off of Facebook. I had told him this too directly. I said, look, I've been very charitable with you. Like, I want to get along with you. But if you think everything's attached to this thing, you're just going to assume the worst about too many people too quickly. And it's just a bad faith habit to get into. And it doesn't allow you any real productivity at that point, because unless you work within the frames of agreeing that crypto racism exists and that there's these things within me that are just going to be cryptically racist no matter what, that that are inescapable. Then it's like, how the fuck am I going to work with you if you can't even understand what racism and discriminate? Well, I consider racism to be a low resolution term and discrimination to be the focus anyways, in explaining and talking about what discrimination actually is.
Yeah. So, and then he brought up about race realism. And I was like, what's race realism? And I looked it up and I was like, the thing that really bothered me about the entire thing is because I don't know if Jordan or Brandon, this is the first time that you met me, right? Like talking to me, right? I'm pretty sure Sean knows a little bit of information about me. So my father was a radical communist. He was one of the Khmer Rouge. So I was around, so quote unquote, I guess
he was in Khmer Rouge,
right? He was in the Khmer Rouge. So he fought side by side with Pol Pot.
I did a bunch of research on that in college, so that's really interesting.
Right. So he was radicalized, and then he the thing that made me kind of, when I look at the interview between David and Jordan, was the fact that I kind of felt that they were using their, I guess, would you say lineage for the Jewish heritage or whatever, like a way to, I don't want to use the word grifting. I shouldn't say that, because they have an article that somebody shared with me. I guess Sensemaking, I guess talking with fascists. That's what the title of the article was. And I felt like it was like, you ever seen those people who, you know, it's like virtue signaling to me. Does that make sense? Like they were like, it's so stunning and brave that we talk to fascists. I didn't vote for, this is talking directly to David and Jordan.
I've never been called a virtue signal before. So.
Like I didn't vote for David or Jordan to be gatekeepers of anything, to be honest. Right. I'm a Jordan Peterson fan, to be honest with you. Right. And so if you guys, and Jordan, if you have a chance, or David, if you guys have a chance, look up April 2019 Q&A with Dr. Peterson. He answered one of my questions, because I wanted to deal with living with a radical all my life. I live around Khmer Rouge all my life. So it was pretty much very radical Cambodians.
So real fascists.
Real fascists, exactly. So then when you come out and, you know, throw that label onto Brandon, and then you don't, and then Leo, and then Sean and stuff like that. I guess he was saying in the interview about people you were around with Brandon.
There's a gifting of power in that framing.
Yeah.
They did with Trump for 4 years. Hey, he's a tyrant. Yeah, only if you let him be. Only in your mind, and you're not charging that dude any rent. So
yeah. Rent free.
I want to release people from burdens like that. Clearly, there was a subset of people who Trump, being the president, broke this place for. Right. Reality as such, it broke them, because you don't complain about someone's tweets, all of them,
right,
4 years in a row, without something being wrong with you. I'm making a clinical diagnosis of thousands. that is technical, meaning it's rooted in demonstrated interest in reality. Spent their time critiquing everything one man did for a long time. Now, is he kind of one of the guys who you should do that to? Sure. President of the United States of America. Got it.
Right.
Got it. But at no point did any one of them ever come forth and say, hey, this is a good idea for stuff that he was doing. And there was plenty of points in time in which you could have did that, which means you were keeping up the ability to commiserate with people about Orange Man being bad. He was part of your social life. All right. Well, what we have now, it isn't any better. In fact, I'd argue that it's way, way, way worse, but that's besides the point. It's like we have gone with derelict, useless leaders for longer than just Trump. And frankly, he was easing the world back into the way that the world is, where there are nations with borders that do business with one another, but care about the people inside of those borders more than they care about the people outside of those borders. Okay. I was just talking about it with Leo right before we had this chat because we had 15 minutes to catch up. It's like, all right, the Q conspirators, what they caught on to with their craziness was one, America. That was America. Donald Trump do this from the top down. America. There's an essence in there. People wanted to see it happen. That's why they projected it into the world. But what's in there as threat detection is it's not America that's under threat. It's the foundation that allows for the emergence of something like America that's under threat. Right. So people feel at unease because we are technically at a time of unease. We've just never had the data to collect and go, oh yeah, that's what's going on. The place is collapsing around us. You're a Jordan Peterson fan. I am too. Dude is incredible. And you'd have to make a really, really strong case that he isn't physically falling apart because he carries a burden that's too big for him. Right. And that he can't fucking do it alone. Right. And
he's spoken about that openly.
Of course. He says it out loud. He has the wrong temperamental traits to push back against what is happening right now, because it's not Canadians that have the instinct for it. It's Americans.
Not Canadians. Look at their flag.
Oh, here, let me make it better for them. It's like any Canadian that wants, like, we'd be happy to have you as Americans. Pink Socks isn't doing you any favors.
And they're really nice.
Trudeau Pink Socks?
Yeah, yes.
And you know, like when Peterson got really sick, you could just tell that, you know, the burden was really, it was so heavy that his health is falling apart. He's getting a lot better. I mean, he's doing interviews and stuff like that, but it was so much on him that, you know, he was pointing out everything that was wrong. And of course, people will say that, you know, he's preaching patriarchy and stuff. He brings up toxic femininity, you know, he's all these names that I feel like that's what's happening to you, Brandon. It's because they wanted to do that to.
Well, I dig the comparison.
I do, because this is what they do. They call me a white nationalist. I don't know why.
You're not even.
It's like they call me a white nationalist. No. Another one is that I was supporting white supremacy. I was not.
People have said this to you?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe I can give you some argumentative ammunition.
Go ahead.
White supremacy is just white sovereignty. They just use white supremacy as a slander. And you want what the whites created for sovereignty, 100%, because they created that individualism that you love so much. All these people love so much. And they love it so much because they demonstrate wanting to come here to America from everywhere. And we act like it's not a real phenomena. The people who are in charge of America right now don't like America objectively.
Right.
They say it out loud. They don't stand for any of the principles that we have. And people still want to come here.
Right. And even my father, who is a Rouge, he's not no more. He dropped everything when he came to this country, because in order to come here, you have to drop your affiliation with political ideologies, blah, blah, blah. And the United States bombed the fuck out of Cambodia, for sure. And this is the argument that a lot of people use against me. Oh, well, you didn't think about, when they bombed the border and stuff like that. They were targeting the Viet Congs, pretty much the trail, because the King saying that this is Cambodian history, he lied, and pretty much he bombed the border to stop the traffic of ammunition and stuff to supply the Viet Cong. You got to think about it. This was war. During war or during a revolution, there's no justice. There's no morality. They just go for it.
Strategy.
Yeah, strategy. And that's what happened. When my father came here, he told us, you need to assimilate. And so a lot of people accused me that I was dropping my heritage, my Cambodian heritage, that I was participating in white supremacy, the system, right?
What kinds of people, sorry if I can interrupt, What kinds of people were saying that you were dropping your heritage? I'm curious.
You know who it was? Like, you guys know the guys. Well, you guys don't. You guys remember Straight Pride that happened in Boston?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. The Bros. I'm friends with them. Right.
Okay.
So I'm friends with them. And I've always had they always had my back, and I always have their back, because that's what comrades do. Right. So, and so they accused me, because a lot of the people that called me was Boston Antifa that called me white nationalism, white supremacy and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on in Massachusetts, you guys. I mean, it's like,
we're sorry.
And so that's what happened. I mean, if those guys have to be straight and stuff, okay, so to kind of turn it back a little bit, I know I'm going all over the place. I knew something was wrong with the free speech rally. If you guys remember that happened in Boston in the square, I think it was supposed to be Augustus Leviticus talking, and then my friend, Samson Rachapi and stuff like that. People were protesting free speech, a free speech rally. That's when I knew something was wrong. I was like, okay. I saw when I was in university around 2008, 2009, that whole critical race theory didn't really take into effect. And then it started to kind of poison, just like, Brandon, you brought up about Godsod, parasites. These ideas are parasitic. And then I started to see people wearing the red krama. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's the Khmer Rouge, what they wore. And I'm like, wait a minute. I saw it in one of the Jordan Peterson documentary. She was wearing the red krama too.
They're hijacking frames.
Yes, exactly. So that's what she was doing. And I'm like, you shouldn't even be wearing that, but whatever. And then the chair shirt, and I started to see the hammer and sickle,
That
and
was fashion,
yeah,
ironically.
right.
I like the lesson here is loading and obscuring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're framing reality so that when you look through their frame, you see a specific type of thing. Right. And when anyone who's doing that to you is doing it deceitfully.
Right.
But let me drive the point home with something that's more innocuous, but happens all the time. Someone will say something like, "Oh, this is just my opinion," or "This is only my opinion." All right. What I'm doing is I'm personalizing whatever comes out of my mouth next. So I'm doing you a disservice in the ability to adopt that position if it's an optimum.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't want people to do that anymore. I want them to say what they mean. You say that there was a rally about free speech. I don't even want free speech. I want people to have to testify if they're speaking in public, because you're in a public domain, and to say things that poison the well of perception and understanding is a crime. And I mean that like at the deepest sense, like you could call it a sin.
That gets tricky.
I know.
Because you end up with the same, I mean, and we're on the same page as far as like, we're doing sense making, but it to me, it oddly goes from these people saying like, we don't want to allow disinformation, you're spreading disinformation, to now these people saying you don't want to allow this. And then it's a matter of being able to falsify what disinformation is. So I know we're close enough, but that's my concern with that.
Good. See, I have people around me that are interested in adding nuance to frames.
Right.
Now, Sean and Leo and I discussed shootings yesterday that take place in and around major cities all over the place. And Leo noted newly, because he came to the conclusion then, that the smaller cities, they use those names instead of just attaching it to the city proper, because that would give the picture that the cities are the problem, and they are.
Yeah.
And nobody wants you to see that.
Yeah.
So with Sean's point about obscuring information and finding the actual facts, and my point about not levying, hey, this is only my opinion because you might want that opinion too.
Yeah.
There are people who can break things down and tell you what happened in an operational sense, meaning a causal chain of events. What you think about that causal chain, that's on you. But facts can be free of value. I don't have to tell you things with an emotional valence attached to it. In fact, I would appreciate if you went, this is my opinion, or this is my preference, or this is how I'm biased, and then led in with an actual preference, opinion, or bias, which is based in those three things. Otherwise, you are stating something that is true, causal, and people need to make a decision about because it exists. Does that make sense?
Like the world that we live in today. So a lot of people are like, especially like critical race theorists. You hear a lot of people talk about experiences as facts. Like for instance, when so there's a lot of hate crimes against Asians at the moment, right? And they say
what's a lot?
There's a lot. I shouldn't say a lot.
Do you mean to say there's a lot of fervor about the hatred being spewed at Asians at the moment? Because into the news?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes I get people saying to me that I don't represent all Asian, which is true. But I do. I am Asian. I am Cambodian. I am Southeast Asian.
Skin in the game.
And you represent them more than we do.
Can you guys identify as Asian now?
Yeah.
You can yeah. So but anyways, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but people on the left, the far left, they say things as, you don't have the right, especially to people who are right wing, that you don't have the right to talk about their experiences. You don't know what they're going through. That's their experiences. And I think that's wrong, because just because I feel something doesn't make it a fact. Does that make sense? Like, it's not.
Sure. I can actually help you sort something out. Your feelings are measurements. Your first instinct is technically spatial awareness, or like embodiment, and that takes the woo-woo out of like someone. Well, people go, "Oh, humans are psychic because if you stare at the back of one's head, like he knows you're staring." It's like, no, I know there's a person behind me, and chances he's staring at the back of my fucking head is because I'm a thing in space time, and like obviously, same with people driving by you. In a car and so on. That's not to say we can't pattern match so well that our future telling isn't real, because it is, 100% is. But we have to choose to make manifest those things we predict. And we're not predicting anything anymore. We don't cooperate with one another. We distort how each other see this place so that it accrues interest for those who are doing the distortion. That is across all arenas, and it has to end in order to make this hellscape go away. It's the criteria. That's what I'm trying to get across to people. It is the criteria. The Christians had it right with the logos. The military has it right with testimony. The courts have it right with testimony. If you're saying things that can impact how other people perceive this place, you better know what you're talking about. And if you don't talk. Leave it to other people to do it.
Oh, as an introvert, I would like that a lot.
I know.
I don't have to talk. So, but so now that you guys are watching this, you guys kind of have like a little bit of information about Brandon and Sean, of who they are. And I'm glad you guys came on, because like I said, you guys are, I like you guys a lot, because the fact that you guys test you guys make me think. And those are the type of people that you want around you. Now, you can make the argument that or they're fascist, blah, blah.
We're limit pushers.
Never a fascist yet, directly.
Did you say fascist yet? But think about it. Okay, so let me say to the audience, if you really think about like Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, even Pol Pot, there was chaos that happened before they got into power. Because I'm going to put an example, because Cambodia, I'm more I'm not an expert, but I can relate. When Pol Pot came into power, and just like the culture Marxists, he took away religion. He did not like marriage.
He didn't like smart people either.
Right, exactly. So I've got if you guys can help me out, like the 5 things that I think: marriage, religion, family, marriage, religion, and he basically removed all that. And so it became fascist. So if you guys are scared of fascists, I honestly believe that you're one of the problems. It's like when you look at society today, there's, just like Brendan said, there's no truth telling anymore. Nobody's telling the truth. It's all liars. We know that they're liars, but they don't want to call it out because they're afraid that their side or their tribe will
demoralized.
Most people will also lose their ability to do regular life things. Look, what I get in hot water, because I teach natural law. Mm-hmm. Fact of the matter is, like, no one stands judgment under natural law. If you're in a book right now, it's not Genesis, it's Revelation. Mm-hmm. And when you read that chapter, you should know that the title tells you what you should learn about that chapter. Meaning, if you don't want these horrible things to manifest in the real world, you need to have a revelation. Because otherwise, you're delivered these things that are terrible. Look at the chapter.
A revelation of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth always comes undesirably. Meaning, in the Bible, it came as a flaming sword, or judgment day. Well, mm-hmm. we have the tools. Jordan Hall would call them psychotechnologies. I would tell you that it's just perceptual relay, meaning I was thinking about it this morning, and the information ecology, or what I call the intellectual or informational commons, is probably more astutely described as the perceptual commons. Mm-hmm. And you're relaying your unique perspective into this place so that other people can get a look at what's going on through your eyes. And if you're lying, you're distorting that image. And distorting that image removes our ability for omnipresence. And we could just have it under what we've got right now, but we're too busy stealing each other's attention for asymmetries in wealth that is measured in dollars that are only correlated with happiness, but are very far from buying you it. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
We have a system of perverse incentives, and anybody working inside the system to game it, to create asymmetries for themselves, they're aiding and abetting in the downward spiral. So I'm not here to blame those people. That's fucking everybody, including me. Yeah, it's everyone. Sorry, but it's all of us. And when we decide that it's all of us, you can either change and have people, firstly, people would have to issue you forgiveness because you fucking need it. I guarantee it. So forgiveness and then change. That's what we're supposed to learn. That's what we're supposed to learn.
Like Peterson, like Peterson said, taking responsibility. Yeah.
Everyone's got to do it though, because otherwise you're carrying other people's responsibility. It just doesn't go away. That's the whole rights and responsibilities arguments. Like, what comes first is responsibilities, and then you can afford people rights, and those rights have a cost, and the cost is the upholding of those responsibilities. And the shirking of those responsibilities is the degradation of culture, meaning not upholding the things that allow your citizenry to have rights that increase in scope and magnitude so that their agency and autonomy increases in scope and magnitude. All that goes away. It goes away because you're not holding up what everyone's standing upon. We quit doing that like some time ago, a long, long time ago. And this is just the unwinding of that. It's going to take a deliberate decision by a lot of people to turn this place around, because in the current transition from whatever nationalist order to forced global order to forced chaos and war.
Mm-hmm. So you guys think there's going to be a next civil war?
I hope not. I hope not. But it's not trending. It's not trending away from violence. And you had cities burning all throughout 2020, and you had an increase in lockdowns and authority for an entire year. And if I was the bad guys, what I just saw is most people will listen if we just pump enough news through the television, which they knew, like when television came out. We do need central command and control. That's the project that Sean and Leo and I embarked upon, years ago now. Like, you should get your news in 10 minutes from people who have your best interest in mind. And then you can scale locally if you need to know something went down. But what should be going down is everyone fulfilling their duty and us spiraling forward into magnificence. But instead, we're slinging shit at each other online. Mm-hmm. It's insanity.
I do it. It's like I do it.
Trying to kill,
I'm taking responsibility. I do it.
I do it too.
I'm already in what I would consider to be, at the very least, like a psychological and ontological civil war movement. And the thing that I've been saying for years and warning people about is, in the past, when we would look at civil wars, whether it was around the globe in other countries or our own here in America, what we would generally see is two sides and factions within those two sides. And now I think we're inevitably going to see not just two sides. And that's because there's like more at stake than there's ever been before. And that's to say, not just the land, not just the wealth, not just the materials, not just the resources, but the influence. And the influence, it's always been something that's been there throughout history, but the ways that we can derive influence now are far more concentrated and magnified and amplified. So the attention economy is a much greater one at hand or at stake, I guess you could say. So I think the amount of players involved in what it looks like we're going through, and I think it even looks like something that resembles like a civil and a world war all kind of at once. And that's partly because we're all so connected now online. Where are you going?
I'm in Fresno, California.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you're all the way across the country.
Get out.
We speak with people in South America, Ireland, India,
yes,
Asia. I speak with people all over the world all the time now. And when you had wars before, some of this would happen, but not at the frequency and the moment that it happens now. So I think it's a bit more complex and complicated. So it leaves a lot of different players in a lot of different positions. And then as you see with the media companies, you could see that pie is getting smaller and smaller. So you see more and more players, fighting for that attention with that smaller piece of the pie. So that's why things seem really frantic and concentrated when it comes to the manipulation factor. Because like we need these people, we need this people to believe this very specific thing, and you might have three different players trying to get those people to believe a very specific thing, and maybe those very specific things are almost alike, but they need them to believe in a certain way to really gain the traction of influence and power ultimately, because all these narratives, they're very important and they matter very much.
And they bring in money. They bring in lots of money.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So are you like what you're saying is that there's going to be like different war, like factions that's going to happen? Like it's going to like explode.
I think a lot more than we've ever seen before. I think traditionally you would see small factions, and then it would end up being, two bigger ones, maybe a third. But now I think with just the structure and the systematic development of things globally with globalism and everything, that you're just going to see like the amount of, and on top of that, some of these are very much going to be coming from the dark markets and the organized crime. We've already seen this happen in politics, I mean, very much so, but I think it's going to become more obvious in the United States now, as so the cartels clearly have influence in Mexico, right? So I think that stuff's going to become a little bit more, that is a regular thing. Like people kind of knew, the media helped, like being pulled, having their strings pulled and funded by some of these people that are involved in this. But right now the curtains are kind of getting ripped to the side. And I think for what it's worth, I think that's some of the benefit of what Trump was for what he is at this period. Is really he's a curtain puller. He's someone that says, this show is not so good. Well, look at these assholes back here. Like that's interesting, right? Anything that can derive any more extra influence or any more fuckery.
Yeah, right.
Or jester-isms.
Yeah, like what Trump, I voted against him, of course. But I felt like it changed, like I said, it changed with the free speech rally, because what I saw happen that day, of course, you saw the white nationalists and stuff like that. He killed somebody. Yes, I saw that. But I also saw that, if you're, how I'm going to say it, they had the right to be there, the white nationalists. And I hate to say that, but they I'm sorry?
What are you talking? Where?
The free speech rally. I'm talking about it that happened in, in Virginia. Was it Virginia? The one that
Charlottesville.
Yeah, the kid ran over someone.
Yeah, the chick. And when I voted against Trump, I had Trump derangement syndrome in the beginning, but it only lasted for about 4 months, and that was pretty much it. The reason why it only lasted 4 months, when I saw Charlottesville, and I felt like I was being lied to, because I saw people, they were fucking with them. Does that make sense? They came to their show, and then they started crap with them. And if you if you go and pet a lion and he bites you, and it's kind of your fault. You're the one who,
You know what the lion is.
Yeah. And
I can draw a starker line here if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I spoke with, and tie it into the beginning of the conversation here.
Mm-hmm.
When I spoke with Jordan Hall, I said that Brett Weinstein was a hero.
Right.
He protected the only property that mattered at the moment. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero in that same regard. He was the kid who shot those 3 people over in Kenosha.
And I think he killed 2, right?
I think 2 of them are deceased.
Yes.
Yeah. He was protecting the commons. That's what he was doing. And we put him in jail. And he was a boy. That's a boy. Meaning men abdicated their duty, and what manifested in reality was a lone boy doing his duty in America. That's a sad place to be. That's a sad place to be. And we should realize what earns you this place is not chasing dollars. You have to hold and have territory. You have to hold and have people. And you're being told you can't hug people. That's what's going on. I don't care what it looks like to anybody else. If it looks different to you, you're looking at it through the wrong lenses. Mm-hmm. They're taking away your humanity by delivering you to the animal.
Yeah, if you hug somebody, you kill grandma. Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolute chaos. Mm-hmm. We desperately need one another, and we desperately need to touch one another, frankly. Babies die when you don't touch them.
Right.
They're taking away what it means to be human. And if you think that wearing a mask isn't the first step in that, or rather, it's one of the latter steps in a very long chain of taking your humanity. But masks is should be a final straw for people.
Let me tie it into
something I said yesterday with Sean. I bumped into my barber because I haven't got a haircut.
I haven't cut my hair because it's just in California, they're really strict. We have to be double mask.
I like my barber, but I would get into it with him over masks. So I don't show up, because that's my duty as someone who's in his fucking friend group, to not make a scene at his barber shop because he's forced into making people wear masks so he can do his business. That's fucked up. Mm-hmm. All right. No one wants to live in that world, least of all me. Mm-hmm. And you're putting pressure on people who don't.
I'll cut your hair, Brandon, just so you know, I do cut hair.
Thanks, bud. When I make it over, I've been bogged down, but when I make it over there, perhaps that'll be on the agenda, because it's not doing me any.
It's starting to look like my hair.
It's
starting to look like my hair. But go on, Brandon.
So no one wants to live in a world where let me tie it down tighter. I'm a confrontational person, meaning I'm disagreeable and adversarial. So, and I push limits, which is why I don't complain about being purged from Facebook, because frankly, I was pushing the limits of that platform every chance that I got to see where they were, because they looked arbitrary to me. And as far as I can tell, they're still arbitrary. People don't like the conflict. That is also clear. That is what the hit pieces are about. Hey, we don't want to deal with this. What I'm telling people about conflict is that it ends in resolution. And if I, an annoyance, am like at the top of your worries list.
You used to call yourself an annoyance.
Yeah. If I, as an annoyance,
you're like, I think Socrates said something about the fly. It's like the annoying fly.
I like that you went from me to Socrates. My favorite part of that. Not that he's my favorite philosopher. Maybe we can get a little bit deeper. It's like, all right, well, there were smart dudes in the past who nobody reads anymore, and they should. But to think that they had all the answers and it's not a combinatorics of humans throughout time ending at this time is very, very silly.
Right.
So what do we need to do? We need to become unpredictable. That's what my buddy Pat Ryan would say. And we need to understand that there are structures in our minds that impede us from seeing this place the way that it is. And the only way through that veil is to converse with one another whilst telling each other the truth about what's going on, because there's no other way to do it. And that means the little lies got to go away. And that's the hardest part. I'm not making it sound like it's easy. It's like cheating a little bit where you know you can get away with it. That's where you have to stop doing it. That's the important space, because the real cheaters and sociopaths, if no one cheated a little to gain the benefits that everyone who cheats a little gets, like cheating on your taxes or going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, or 10, or in Massachusetts, 25, yeah, whatever it is. In taxes, like a good accountant is one who skirts taxes best. Like that's how we judge them. That's the criteria. Hey, how much money are you going to stiff the government for that should be mine? I'm like, I'll pay you extra to do that. Like that's what good accounting is. That is a shit system. It's trash. It doesn't do anything good for anybody because there's no productive capability. It's just how much can we steal from one another secretly without anyone noticing, and then normalize that stealing. And then the sociopaths and psychopaths hide inside that system. And we're like, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's that bad.
Until it's bad.
Till it's so bad, because it's every little lie. It's every little one, because those are fixed pieces of reality. I'll give you a little bit more. And then Sean, I want you to go. I don't try to remember anything that I say, because I'm telling people the truth all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. And you only got to remember when you lie, because that's a fixed piece of the world. And if I say something and then I go, hey, I said this in the past, and someone's like, no, you said it like this. Like, yeah, you're probably right. Because what am I going to, like, this is what I meant. That's what the important part is, not whatever came out of my mouth.
You'll know
I'm not interested in remembering that. Go ahead, John.
As long as you know what you believe, that's what matters in the end, because then you can say, oh yeah, I agree with that. That sounds like how I might say that.
That's what I end up saying. Hey, it sounds like I would have said that.
I don't know if the little lies come from the big lie or the little lies add up to the big lie, but to backpedal a little bit to where we were before with Trump and Rittenhouse, one of the biggest lies that we've allowed to permeate in our culture is that, and I think I might have even been living inside of this lie for a bit, because I was indoctrinated and I was programmed and even demoralized to think some of these things. And however that happened is, through education, entertainment, general politics, media, is what it is. And that's that we shouldn't be tribalized, or we shouldn't be in a tribe.
Right.
And that tribalism is dangerous.
Diversity is our strength.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you're not, put it this way, if you're in a world, which we all are, we don't have a choice in this. If you're in a world where there are any tribes and you are not of a tribe, and you start to venture into territory with dangerous tribes, whether they be in the digital realm you know, Antifa type of people, or whether it be in the physical realm of some type of cartel or something like that, or people connected to a cartel. There's a city right down the road from me, Lawrence, and there's cartels connected right up through that city.
Yeah, same here in Fresno. They pretty much took over the
Yep.
Central Valley.
Hey, and you come across the wrong person, who's not even in the main tribe, but they're in the peripheral satellite tribe of that. All that they can get away with some crazy shit, murder. There's people who have been beheaded right in, you know, the river down here.
Holy shit! Damn.
Yeah, kids beheading other kids, stuff like that.
Wow.
It's crazier than people realize sometimes if they don't pay attention. And one of Dylan had said the other day in a discussion that his brother said something along the lines of Kyle Rittenhouse was wrong. He shouldn't have been in that neighborhood, which is debatable among many lines, I think. But at the baseline, you know, what I said to him, I'm like, look, if you have your main tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you a lot of times people don't even realize they're in a tribe. You have a family,
Right.
You got a tribe. You got close loved ones, you got a tribe. You got a neighborhood that you get along with your neighbors, you got a tribe. You got a community, a city, a state, a country, whatever it may be. There's different levels of tribalism. And it's like, okay, so as far as Kyle saw it, he was in a tribe wherever he was, and he was getting notification that someone who was an extended tribe, because I believe he was in gun groups or whatever it was,
Right.
He had friends up where there were in Kenosha, where there was clearly riots where people were destroying property, business. And not only that, potentially hurting people or killing people, right? Because that's what was going on last summer and what will continue into this summer as well. And I asked him, I said, hey, ask your brother if he was under attack or his stuff was being burned, if he would want anyone to ever come help or assist him, because he's either a pussy and he doesn't want to protect his things, or he's lying or unaware and doesn't know how this type of thing works. Again, I'm not even saying Kyle should or should not have been there. I really, that's not my focus here. My focus is understanding at what level you're working at when you make casual comments, or when people make casual comments as to that kid shouldn't have been there. It's like, well, as far as he saw it, he had a tribe that he liked to trade with, that he liked to be cool with, to extend his own tribe. And as far as he saw it, he was helping protect that
Right.
friend, group, tribe, whatever it is. And the naive nature of people not understanding this, all while at the same time marching with a tribe of people down the street, or getting into groups with tribes of people who have the same belief systems, it's the most naive thing I've ever seen adults do. It's just a complete cognitive dissonance, a lack of understanding of the reality that's literally sitting there in front of them, that they're saying hypocritical things about. It's bizarre. It's upside down.
Even Dr. Peterson told, like, I don't remember what it was, but he was talking about that. If you don't belong in a tribe, get in one, or something like that.
Right.
And before anybody like say you're trying to join the Propertarian tribes, nah, man. It's like, I just like talking to people, man. It's like, and I get it. I totally get it. And to be honest with you guys, I'm exhausted, because
to be friendly with the tribe isn't to be associated with the tribe necessarily.
Yeah, like that's like me going.
Started this conversation.
Yeah, that's me going to you guys and giving you guys fruit and stuff, because I'm a nice person. So I go to your tribe and I was like, hey man, let's trade some seeds. So
Great information, yeah. Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm opening my universe to you guys and pretty much everybody, but at the same time, I know that it can not necessarily go too far, but the people will say that I'm being friendly to the wrong people. I know you guys hear that you guys are bad guys. That's what I hear a lot, that you guys are bad guys.
Frankly, I don't hear that. I don't hear that.
I hear from my circle.
All right. Well, that's
yeah, and I don't believe it. The reason
Really?
the reason why I don't believe it's the fact that I am a very curious individual. Okay, I'm very curious, and sometimes I go into places that I shouldn't be. Okay, but at the same time, I like to learn about different people and stuff like that because, like I said in the beginning, living with radicals all my life, and in the end, they're just. I'm not saying you guys are radicals. I'm not saying that you guys are not like the Khmer Rouge or anything, but being fed by when I was little, like Asian people, we feed our kids by hand and stuff like that. That's just our way to show love. And my dad used to feed me rice with his hands and stuff like that. And now that I grew a little bit older, a killer fed me food. So it taught me to kind of realize that everybody right now is trying to make sense of things, and they're trying to protect, like Brandon said, Brett Weinstein protecting Evergreen, Kyle Rittenhouse protecting his
protect what they love.
Yeah, protect what they love.
Sacred to them.
Yeah, exactly. So, you guys, that's how I see it. You guys are just protecting what you guys love. And like I said, reading that hit piece or whatever it is, it was like kind of like, don't you have empathy for, Brandon at all? And I don't know. That's how I saw it. It's just really chaotic. And it's just like, to me, it's kind of.
I'm trying to do everyone a favor. You do not have to empathize with me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sympathize with me.
I'm trying to be a hitman.
No one has to do any of that. I want them to account for one another.
Right.
It's like these types of people live. And if you can't have civil conversations with someone, don't think turning that person down, like the next person you'll have conversation with won't be further to the extreme you don't like.
Like for example, I'm gonna have another person. I'm gonna have the Black Hebrew Israelites. I'm gonna be talking with him as well, and he doesn't believe Asians and whites should go to heaven, and I'm interested. So it's like, whoa!
I want to hear his case.
I'm like, whoa! I'm interested. That's some far out shit. Come talk to me. And the thing is that I'm trying to approach this in a way that's pretty much like sense making. I'm trying to understand why people are doing the things that they do. And just like, Dr. Peterson start with maps and meeting, he's trying to understand why people became communist, fascist and stuff like that. His entire career was, talking about the Nazi Germany and stuff like that, talking about Stalin. It's just people trying to make sense of the world. And sometimes not sometimes, but if it ends bloody, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I think that's what you guys are trying to prevent, for it to be,
We're saying it always has ended bloody. And we don't have to do that this time because we're supposed to be elevated or transcendent. And we have all this technology, like, I don't know, make the choice. Looks like you still want to be part of that history thing. And I have no interest in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't fight anyway. So it's like, you guys can wrestle, you guys can fight. I can't do any of that. Obviously I don't even, to be honest with you guys, I don't even, my husband, he wants to buy a gun. I don't even want a gun at all. It's not because I don't want to protect my property or my son, not my, or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, just not my thing. I mean, I like hugs, not guns. So.
You shouldn't have to have a gun in order to be safe. That's
exactly.
Not that your husband shouldn't wield one, because it's an equalizing technology.
He has a shotgun. He owns a shotgun.
That'll do it.
Okay, people are going like, he has a gun in California. I don't know about Massachusetts, but in California,
Fresno, isn't it common that people have guns?
It is. It's common, and it's a lot of violence happening at the moment because a lot of people are being released that shouldn't be released, and due to our shitty governor. So, but totally get the whole tribe thing, and I, like me personally, I don't even know where I belong, to be honest with you. I'm like everywhere trying to like understand the Black Israelites, why I can't go to heaven. And then I have this side who's like, well, don't talk to these people because they're fascists or they want eugenics and stuff like that. But I just want to put the pieces together because the puzzle is not complete when there's pieces that are missing. Does that make sense? Like, so
what you're doing is this is all fighting right now. Not amongst ourselves, but you're fighting to defend people's freedom of speech right now. And you're fighting, not only that, you're fighting to promote sense making, like actual sense making, actual hard discussions and things that, we're going to come across places that we don't agree. Me and Brandon have disagreed several times over the years, and we've disagreed harshly towards each other. And
have you guys ever fought each other? Like, That's fine.
No, Brandon's a wrestling coach, and I've done wrestling. We've wrestled each other before physically, yes. Brandon is a way better wrestler than me. He could throw me through the air, even though I'm way bigger than him.
That's amazing.
To be fair, when you learn how to fight, you learn how to stay out of them, and you also learn how dangerous it is to throw hands with somebody and how unassuming most people are. And I'm not I believe it's a responsibility for men to enter into the warrior class. I would be one who would check out, meaning if you allowed me to specialize and remove warrior from that generalization of skills, I would remove it because it is one of the harder ones to maintain.
We're not ready for war.
It's just harder.
Yeah.
We're not ready.
Yeah, we're not ready because a lot of people, I mean, I come off as a hippie. I know. All right. I can get away with it. But the thing is that I think it's really important for men to learn combat and stuff like that. I think a whole nation, to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, I came from.
That is a correct.
Yeah, because this is how I see it. I mean, I'm probably gonna get killed by the feminists. How I see it is that feminism has made women very incompetent, meaning the fact that they put down masculinity. And we need our men to be strong. I mean, look at the Asian woman that was beat by this dude that's like 10 times her size. And
that was horrible.
That was horrible.
It's made them objects.
Exactly. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is just not right. I mean, it's the men are starting to attack people. Like real masculinity, in my personal opinion, is they protect and they love. Toxic masculinity.
Women and children.
Yeah, exactly. Women and children. They don't attack a 65-year-old woman. And I think he broke her pelvic bone. And I believe, he broke a lot of bones. And watching that, it made me think. A lot of people sent me videos because of the fact that, because I'm Asian, they're trying to trigger me. That's what they're trying to do. And I'm not gonna do that because I know my emotion is when you think with your emotion, it leads you to places you don't want to be. But like I said in my Facebook post, that is a good example of our men being weak. Does that make sense?
It's an excellent example of weak men.
Yeah, weak men. And masculinity, that's, when you say toxic masculinity and stuff, it's really damaging our boys. It's damaging our generation of men, our warriors. They're gone. I mean, they're not necessarily gone.
It's a projection. Men don't use poison, women do. So nothing about true masculinity is toxic. Yeah. Because it's not what we do. Aggressive, perhaps, domineering at times, but that's where people are supposed to temper each other.
Right.
Without the expression, it doesn't go away. Nope. You see this, I do behavioral modification. Bad behaviors don't go away unless they're punished. Right. Humans can understand the unfurling of a punishment. So you know that if you're going to lose your hand for stealing, you are less likely to steal. Especially if that punishment is carried out in faith, every time. We have punishments on what I would call a random reward schedule, meaning people are afraid to do things for being caught, but the chance of being caught are very, very slim. I mean, we put our own handcuffs on, and most of the rules are rules of paperwork and limits, but it's not where the rules need to be. When you set the rules out at the edges, meaning there's real consequence for your infractions. If we were sitting at a bar as a couple, you and I, and we were married, and someone came up to you and called you a whore, it should be within my wheelhouse to wheel that guy in the mouth, because that's the proper rest. It's an obligation to defend the relationship status and your position as being in a relationship with me. He dishonored you. And because he dishonored you, he should be rendered to the floor. Right. Because that's the proper punishment. We want to bring back a place where there's that plausibility, that possibility for a violent retaliation, because that keeps people in check. And we've let that go away. You can wheel it over people with money, meaning you can sue them, and only rich people win in court, because It costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. We can't afford to equilibrate as regular people, blue collar people, with the courts as they are. We need to be able to work out disputes at localities where they are. And seriousness of punishment and seriousness of oath and duty is a necessary thing to keep those punishments intact. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, your behavior spirals out of control.
Yeah.
You're in a feedback loop with the people around you.
In a well-adjusted person, there's already a psychological punishment within your own mind. If you lie, if you do something terrible, it's going to haunt you. It's going to be something you can't stop thinking about it. But like what you're describing, these non-well-adjusted people who are clearly have broken features within them, that isn't there. So you can't rely on them to self-regulate. So they need to be regulated otherwise. I mean, you know, we can argue that the prison systems are the way we're going, but if the regular commons cannot, if all the violence is taken out of that, it's like, then we have to rely on secondary and third order judgment, which may be harsher on the person who's well adjusted than the person who is malaligned and not well adjusted, which is, I mean, that's like, it's basically a sin. It's basically, it's broken. It becomes further broken.
So it's like punishing the hero when this as well. Right.
Good way to get no heroes. It's a good way to get weak men.
You protect the child who was someone was saying something that was going to mess up that child's psyche. You protect that child, which is a well-adjusted thing to do, because that's a fine, well-adjusted child already. And then because you did something to regulate that from the broken, malaligned, misaligned person, then you get the consequence of what? Going to jail for a year because you broke his hand or something like that. Or you slapped him across the face when he said something because you didn't like the words that he was using, that you knew this child was not going to be able to get out of his psyche for probably years, if not the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing things play out like that, right? In places like Canada, people being put away because they don't allow their children to transition. That's abuse. And then
whoa, I did not know that.
The protectors. It's a real thing. So things that are grounded in reality, you don't get to decide upon until your brain is fully developed. I don't think that's beyond reproach as far as I can tell. And your brain isn't developed until you're a mature adult, which is like between 25 and 30. So don't get yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, it's like
we let children make childish decisions, and then we hide it behind, oh, well, that's just what they needed to be happy. What children need is to become well-adjusted adults. That's their job. Mm-hmm. And sometimes their happiness gets in the way of that adjustment. And that's not a thing that we should allow, but it's something that we deliberately pursue and make justifications for all the time. It's literally at the root of what we're seeking. Mm-hmm. And what I'm getting across is we are rewarding the worst of people in the shortest time frames. And then we're asking them to navigate through an ever constrained reality. And that was before COVID. This is not a different argument. I was not making a different argument before the crackdown, but now you are in it. I can tie it back to history. And my wife's family fled Bolshevik Russia, for instance. So this is history. We don't want to be in it. We can make it by escaping, and we're not going to do that by slinging names at one another. Mm-hmm. By working the thing out all the way to the bottom. And we've not done it yet. America got close, but whatever they did to set the foundations of some place ended where we're at right this very moment. We have the opportunity to change that.
Of like someone like Brandon getting positioned or framed out the way that, say, someone like David Fuller is doing.
I call him Kathy Fuller, by the way. So.
What's that?
I called him Kathy Fuller, by the way.
Kathy, that makes sense. So what you're saying is,
so when you're saying is, Brendan, are you Nazi.
That video that he did with you, the interview that he didn't release, that he didn't make public. I mean, it's obvious why. And anyone watching this that's interested, go. Can he share that, but no one can see it, or can they see it?
I can't see it. I can't see it.
They could go to his Medium article and find the unlisted link.
Yeah.
You could go on the Good Dudes. There is a copy of it there, or you could request an unlisted link from me because I have it up on my YouTube. If anyone wants,
I recommend anyone that read that article and found it interesting in the least bit, or wanted some more insight as to how David and Brandon actually engage each other. Brandon offered his friendship in that interview, and David really didn't acknowledge it all that much, which is strange the way he did it. But you could see the whole thing; it's all there. Yeah. But yeah, the strange thing is, David's he's over in England?
I think he's in London, I think.
London. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Even better. So, you know, we know what's going on with tribalization over there and the immigration in London. And it's as far as I know, it's a bit of a shit show. They're not really able to control some of the gang stuff in London. Is that true?
Yeah, they can't. They don't even have guns, so they protect their tribes with fucking spoons. Like they just like
they have to rely on the state.
Yeah. They rely on the state. Yeah,
you can't rely on yourself. You know, you're going after someone else in order to try to protect and gatekeep for a digital tribe you have, one that probably can't come to your aid for much. Even if something happens, I mean, maybe because he did an interview with Peterson at some point, Peterson could stick up for him or something like that.
They can only come to your rescue on the digital commons. As far as I could tell, I had more people come to my rescue without asking than he had.
So it's obscure that, you know, going to use that same tribalization, and then, you know, while not understanding tribalization and how you're actually framing things out and how useless it might actually be to try to gatekeep on things like freedom of speech and stuff like that. And I just want to tie it back to, you know, the woman, the Asian woman who was beat in front of that building while those two guys were watching, because it's like, okay, you're in a big city. What city was that? New York, maybe?
New York, Manhattan.
Great. So it's a good example of showing how these cities, these are not united cities. These cities are not healthy places. It's people maybe vaguely are like, oh yeah, this is my city and protect it and all this, but they actually don't. A lot of those people don't care about people within their city, and those guys who didn't do anything to protect that woman are great examples of that. And I don't know what was going through their head, but I do know that if you had pride for your city as a whole and the people and the tribe of your city, that you would go protect any innocent citizens who are being attacked by someone. No matter the case, she could have said something terribly horrible, and then he reacted to it. It doesn't matter. Women and children are different. It's just different. And you have to treat it that way. You guys ever seen the movie The Professional?
I haven't seen it.
No. Well, he goes, no children. He's a hitman, and his thing is no women, no children. Right. And that's what heroes do. No women, no children. And these people didn't care about the people within their city who were being attacked by men who were stomping. They were stomping her head. I believe I saw the distance. And it was a horrific thing to watch.
I'm glad I didn't watch that.
Oh yeah, he stomped her.
And he was just like, I can't tell. Maybe it's dark in there. It looked like there was like two black guys in there.
It was a black guy who stomped on her, and it was two black guys who were the people that's like they're in front of the building. They're the building, I guess, security guards, I think.
Right. They looked like they worked there at the very least. And it's very strange because we see this. And I don't know throughout history if people just watch things happening like this. I don't feel like men did it quite as much as they do now. I could be wrong. But for these things to happen on a regular basis like this, and this is getting attention now. The Asian attacks have been getting more attention. It's been happening for at
quite
least
some time.
Months that I know of. I've been watching, I was following some stuff on Instagram, and it was like stop the Asian hate stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, like there's a lot of this stuff going on. I don't know how long it's been going on for. And it didn't get any traction until what happened? The kid went into the massage parlor. The white kid went into the sexually frustrated kid who's getting handies or whatever he was getting in there and wanted more than that or something. He said he was addicted to sex because of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now you're paying attention because you want to start the narrative. And it's so.
I think the media, they're starting a race war. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to put everybody against everybody because their narrative was that they tell me like the token, I call them token Asians. Okay. So that means that they're bought out. They're sold out. They say that it's due to white supremacy. That's why Blacks are attacking Asians. And I'm like, I was like, huh?
Have you studied Yuri Bezmenov at all?
I'm sorry?
Yuri Bezmenov, have you studied him?
No.
I know Brandon knows I'm a broken record on this, but Yuri Bezmenov was an ex-KGB agent. I believe he was kind of higher ranking and ended up leaving the KGB. He came over here. He changed his name to Thomas something or other. And at least in the early 80s, he did a series of lectures and he would teach people about how the KGB worked, how Bolshevism worked, how Marxism worked. And he warned us about everything that we're seeing now that has to do with pushing race wars and the propaganda through the media as well. He warned us about all this stuff. There's charts and it tells us about the demoralization phase into all the way up to the normalization phase, which it looks like we could be in now because you see common people just they're screaming about racism with stuff like this and white supremacy when you have black guys attacking Asian people and stuff like that. And this is all it's all out there. He's gained a lot of traction and momentum online. But I'll shoot some stuff over to you because I believe at this point everyone should know who Yuri Bezmenov is. I believe everyone should be aware of what Bolshevism and Maoism is and how the tactics within these things are used to divide nations. And it's a 30-year plan. I'm 38. I've grown up through this most of my life, and I believe we've very much been a part of this. And it's bled into our media, our entertainment, our politics, and everything, through even our sports now. I mean, you could look, it's a controversy. Every single time they play the national anthem in a sport, for those athletes who have to make a decision of whether they're going to kneel or not, it's a thing. It used to just be like, oh, is someone putting their hand over their heart? But now it's a whole nother level. And we can see the amplification over the past few years and how rapidly this has developed.
It's like if you believe what I say or else. That's pretty much what I'm saying. I mean, back then when I'm 33, I'm 32 turning 33, and like 90s kids, right? And so back then when we were in university, it was like, oh well, I don't support this organization, or I don't support this particular political party. Now you can't even say that. You're like, you get shamed for it. You get, a mob against you. When I set the communist flag on fire, it was for the Bolshevik Revolution. Pretty much, I just made a statement, and it got passed on to the Hong Kong protesters. This was back in 2019 in October, and so my own people started to come against me and said that I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so I go.
Did they give a reason why?
It's because the fact that they think communism is if you are against communism, you're against equality, you're against diversity, you're against what is it? Somebody said I got a mob against me. So if you call yourself a person who's like for free speech and stuff like that, you got to be ready to have these conversations and you have to be ready to get a group of people. I had a group of communists come against me, which is fine, totally fine. I mean, it's like, but they were saying that this is my circle, my Cambodian family and stuff like that, that I should not make a political statement because you should not have the attention of the Chinese Communist Party. I didn't get that, for example. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Why it's the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution. This has nothing to do with China. And then it goes to pretty much wrap everything what we're talking about, the CCP. I don't know who the enemy is. You guys can chime in. But in my personal opinion, I think it's the CCP. They're winning. They are taking over everything. They have taken over Cambodia. They have taken over pretty much, they built, I think, bases in Cambodia. And Hun Sen, who is the prime minister, he lied. And me saying this, it's going to make my parents kind of uncomfortable because, like I said, they just came out, it's been years. It's been about 40 plus years. But when they live in that system, it really completely damaged them. So that's why I knew right away that something was fucking wrong, because they're doing the same tactics that the Khmer Rouge is doing. They're shaming people.
That's a good tactic.
They're shaming people.
CCP can be the world war should be against the CCP.
You think we're going to win? I don't think they're very.
Well,
there's a lot of them.
There's
a lot of them. Yeah.
Let me give you a couple of hard. You said you had to go earlier. Am I stretching you?
No. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you're good.
I'll give you a little timeline then. It was 2018 or 2019 when there was hundreds of CEOs and heads of companies that bailed out of the economy, meaning they jumped off of boards and they gave up their seats and things like that.
Right.
That was when everyone should have realized the economy is a sinking ship. Now, in America, we have sovereignty and the freedoms that we have under the documents that we were founded under. Those documents have been under attack essentially since they've been written. But recently, under the constraints of the pandemic, the attack on those documents is unquestionable. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the documents are being questioned in demonstration means that they need a renewing technically. America feeds and protects the world. Trump should have did the transition top down. He should have said, we're not going to feed and protect the rest of you until you sort your shit out. And we don't know if you let that biological weapon loose with purposefulness or it was ignorance, but it doesn't fucking matter because you spread it all around the globe and underplayed its disastrous effects. And then the media overplayed its effects and got all the data wrong. And then the companies that are supposed to make sense around things like that happening all failed in front of you because they don't run war games. Mm-hmm. And we haven't evolved past war yet. So the evolution past war should be something like those who appreciate. There's no higher good than sovereignty and attempting to gift that agency to people so that they can uphold sovereignty. Because the only way to uphold it is to defend territory and then to defend the things that live upon that territory. Mm-hmm. It's a calculation in actual human interaction. You have to have certain things set up before you can have anything else. America can still do it top down. Uh-huh. We can still starve the world out. And I don't mean that cruelly. I don't mean make them breadlines. It's like, hey, you're going to have to rework your strategic alliance with us because we have the largest interconnected river system that exists. Right. And we're not going to accept things like dual citizenry. And you're not going to be a Chinese national who owns farmland over here. Those aren't things that exist in our reality anymore because we're Americans, the largest army in the world. And we do care about our founding documents. And we are entrepreneurial still in spirit. And there hasn't been enough lambasting of the warriors to put us away yet. And we made a lot of them angry. A lot of our vets are underserved and have no meaning because their way to service people is to protect them, and they haven't been given an opportunity. This is a fucking opportunity. Mm-hmm. All right? This is an opportunity for America to get very, very, very American again. That is my suggestion. It is not beyond the pale. It should be right in the straight and narrows of every American citizen because you have the only thing that matters when they are taking it from you. And the conspiracy, big companies, big tech, global companies, cosmopolitans, elites, and then all your bankers, all your politicians, all the heads of academy, and all the, what's the fourth one there, the media pundits, all of them, they're in cahoots to snatch it up against you, to snatch it from you. And they're monetizing your attention, meaning they're making you pay to be indoctrinated. And then they make you beg for your handcuffs back because you've been on house arrest and you want to go back to normal, the normal where you were being fucking squeezed for everything you got. Seems really stupid to me from where I'm sitting. I'm waiting for someone to break that frame. I just so happen to teach what I teach the natural law. The natural law is technically reciprocity. That was Trump's favorite word. I was looking for years to just make Q come true because Q was America, fuck yeah. And I'm an American, so that was my preference. But preferences are irrelevant. They're distracting you. Everyone is distracted. These podcasts, like talking for however long we just did, holy fuck. Distraction. I'm trying to, there's a warning. Anyone trying to monetize your attention, steal your attention, who isn't updating your consciousness is a thief. That's a criminal position in the world that I inhabit.
Can I update you on that note?
Yeah, please.
I don't know if you guys saw this. This apparently came through around noon, that the personal data and the phone numbers and emails of 500 plus million.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
What?
Posted online in a hacking forum. The data includes phone numbers, full names, location, email, address, and biographical information. So 500 plus million, 500 million people's data from Facebook has been released.
Wow.
Let me tie this down a little bit tighter. What Sean just discussed was 500 million criminals being outed, because that's what your phone data says you are, a fucking criminal. And all the authorities can abuse that data against you asymmetrically. But the point of all this is we need to stand up for one another everywhere, all the time, against the factions that look to put us in cages, because humans don't belong there. And the ones that do, there's a hard argument to be had that we should remove them instead of cage them, because caging them breaks them. And removing them is the same thing, which goes back to where your limits should be. It's like you should have options in society that are maximal. I describe it as maximum. You can have as much autonomy as you'd like, as long as it doesn't hinder on the agency of the whole lawn that houses you. So you don't get to act as an individual. You don't get to act against your family's best interest. Then as a family, you don't get to act against your community's best interest, and so on. And that scales, and it keeps the autonomy from undermining the whole.
Right.
It's not that none of this is magic. This is, you need to have interactions with people that spiral forward. And if you can't, you should shut up and listen to people who are going to teach you how. And everyone wants to say, hey, look at me, I'm a special snowflake. It's like, all right, well, snowflakes only matter when they accumulate as snow. Otherwise, they melt. And unless you're trying to look at them under a microscope, they're no good. And we don't have time to look at everyone under a microscope. And if we did, we'd find out they were a criminal that we don't like. It's not a gloomy picture. It's a very optimistic picture. You just got to go, hey, I'm not going to hate on people because that's a waste of my fucking time. And my life isn't good enough. So hating on other people is just me projecting my shit onto them. I try to explain to people that I solved for my, sorry, Sean, I solved for my problems in my 20s, meaning I wanted to buy my time back, because if someone else owns my time, I am rageful because it's mine. And people want to talk about their emotions. Those are fucking mine too, just so you know. But they belong to me and are private to me. Why the fuck am I sharing them with you? No reason, unless I need to cooperate with you and you've affronted them in some ways. And I'm like, hey, we got to work this out because whatever you just did, like, made me mad and I don't know why. I'm not mad at these people. They want to see an enemy. I'm trying to help them work through things, and I have very hard limits. And my hard limits end at like, you're oceans away from me. You don't have to like me, not even a little bit. And you don't have to talk to me. And if I'm talking to you, I'm demonstrating interest in you. I'm demonstrating interest in your audience because I'm literally spending my time on you. Here's something else that I know. Every 7 years is roughly 60,000 hours. You spend a third of those sleeping. So every 40,000 hours, you literally need to update your being, because roughly every 7 years, you're a recycled thing. And roughly every 7 years, you move into another maturity, what would you call it, group.
Right.
Yeah, 0 to 7, you kind of learn right from wrong. 7 to 14, you're an awkward retard who needs to be taught a bunch of rules. Like 14 to 21, and then 21 to 28. Like that's when men are most likely to expend their aggression in stupid ways. I mean, it's people under 30 that go to jail.
The 7 to 14-year-olds were like, "Stop calling me an awkward retard." I get that.
I know. But look, I was 14 to 21 once.
Right.
And we were awkward retards. Yeah. And I can backtrack even a little more because this is worse. It's like I knew I was that, and the people around me thought I was mature. That is a fucking nightmare. All right, I want to wake up from this nightmare now. And if I gotta generate hit pieces about me by being me, then that's how we're gonna do this.
I'm not gonna get hit. I'm not gonna get a hit piece. I don't think nobody cares.
That is the right thing to think, that nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody fucking cares. And I don't care because I've come to, look, I'm growing older myself. My eggs are drying. All right. So I'm aging.
You have plans on having children?
I have a child. Yes, he's autistic, by the way. So he's 5. He's autistic. So me and my husband only have one, and we waited. I wasn't really sure that I wanted to have a baby because the fact that I don't know. I just thought to myself, the world's pretty fucked up, and I really don't want to bring anybody into the world and let him suffer. But we made the decision to have a baby, and he's autistic, but his autism has taught me a lot about the world, because the fact that he's just, in all honesty, I don't think it's a disability. I think he sees the world a lot different than I do. And that's interesting to me. And it's really challenging sometimes being a parent. And Brandon, you're a father. And so
I hardly know. Mine doesn't make any sense yet.
And so, and so I've come to a point in my life where it's just like, fuck it. If you are offended at the conversation that we're having, saying the word retard and stuff like that, that's what we grew up doing.
That's what we grew up doing.
Yes. If you are being a fucking retard, you're being a fucking retard. We'll tell you, you know what I mean? I think it's because
meaning, it's got a literal meaning.
I tell people that I mean it technically. Like a retardation is set back in your development. Like, okay, well, we're all technically functionally retarded. Common skills are like, can you deliver a baby? Can you dress a wound? Can you set a bone? Can you administer CPR? Can you solve a problem that's novel? What if the lights go out? Can you start a fire? Can you hunt for food? Those are common skills that nobody's got. That's a technical retardation. It's a failure to generalize where we should have. It's a failure to take up skills that we should have just gave to everybody.
So you're saying like the elites are making us fucking retarded? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we're halfway doing it to ourselves.
So
we should cut that shit out. But they are pulling the levers to make you more so, for sure.
You're just gonna see me start a fire in my front yard. I'm starting a fire. I don't want to be fucking retarded. I don't want to be fucking retarded. I'm gonna start a fire, but
it's that camping gear.
And it's true, Brandon. You're really telling the truth. I mean, not too long ago, my family line, they live in a village. They were villagers. They were fucking farmers. They were, and then now they made, I was born here, and my cousins and stuff in Cambodia, they live in villages. They don't have power. They don't have any of that. They pretty much hunt on their own. They're rice farmers, So
convenience is not good for us, and ease has to be earned.
Mm-hmm.
Like up until the last 20 years, there was terrible malnutrition all across Cambodia. And I read this book, I think it was called Switch. I think that was the book. And there was this guy who was sent over there to try to figure out. They're like, all right, figure it out. Like, there's malnutrition. He's like, you want me to solve all this? And they're like, yeah. And on top of it, they don't even want you there.
Right.
So they want you out of here. So what he figured out, and the whole book is based around focusing on the solutions and to stop focusing on the problem too much. And what ended up happening was he went around to all these different villages and he tried to figure he'd see all this malnutrition, but he's like, all right, I'm not going to focus on the malnutrition families. I'm going to focus on the ones who aren't and try to figure out why they're not malnutrition. And the correlation that he came up with was that all the mothers making the food for the families, the children who weren't malnourished, they were using bits of shrimp in the rice, and that bit of protein was what made the difference. And he realized that he couldn't get away with trying to teach. These people didn't know who the hell he was, what the hell he wanted or believed. So what he did was he would find the mothers that were doing this, and he built workshops based around them in the middle of the villages. So then they would have groups come in, and she would be the one showing them how to do this. And then he basically helped, like millions of people across Cambodia, because he figured out that this was one of the major problems going on.
And the sad thing about it is that the Cambodian culture was we were very proud culture. The Angkor Wat and stuff like that. We built magnificent buildings and stuff like that, irrigation system that still stand till this day. And we lost all that. And I think, and this is probably just controversial in the Cambodian community, that's what Pol Pot was trying to do. He was trying to bring back that pride in our culture, and it's destroyed. I don't know if it's going to be built back. And this is coming back to the original comment. Like, I'm American, and I don't know my fight in this. And you guys have, an idea, and you guys pretty much talked about it, and came up with the solution and stuff like that. But with me, sometimes I feel kind of just like the Dalai Lama said, he was saying that a lot of people should be going back to the country to try to fix it. I'm not. Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
American. You're American. Americans are supposed to be in for this together, and they have to understand that is a category that transcends other categories. We shouldn't denigrate that what brought rise to the people who live right now. We can consider this like a win and start again, because we're here with all the knowledge that we got, and we're able to move this place forward now. We know exactly how to do that. We just can't do it within the systems that we have. And you were talking about your eggs drying out and having
ovaries.
Here's the thing, like, we're not close to the carrying capacity of Earth as a thing, which everyone argues about, population explosion and so on. Well, we have exhausted the systems of interactions that we're using currently, and doubling down on the global systems is an error in maneuver, because we don't have the resources to do something like that.
Right.
And we don't have the manpower, and we're not similar enough to be under the same rules. So it needs to be more localized. And I lost my point because you said something specific.
Well, she was talking about finding her purpose, because she's an American. She feels connected, properly so, because her parents are directly from there. So they've explained, Yeah.
Yes. Here's a point attached to that. People of mixed heritage or of heritage who still have attachments to their culture, there's no reason why we shouldn't be repatriating human capital like we should be repatriating, strategic logistics. For instance,
in what way?
I got you. Repatriating strategic logistics would be like making Facebook a national company and giving the rules of our nation to the whole system, so that it's not under arbitrary rule, but is under the rules of free speech and so on. And you can't be deplatformed because it's comms. Repatriate human capital means literally make incentives for people to go back to their families at their homelands, and we can export them the law and development. It's like, we can actually teach you to make your places better because we do know how. And it's not robbing you of minerals or enslaving your people or making the labor pool drop to the bottom. It's not abusing your children as slaves to make our fucking iPhones. Like, that is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
We're talking about people actually moving from the cities, where those are the diverse places, back to their families and creating communities and starting again from the ground up. Because it should be robust everywhere. These are global solutions. I make an America first argument, firstly, because I'm an American. Second, because I'm in Massachusetts, which is enemy territory. I'm about 40 minutes from Boston, which is like enemy territory.
Yeah.
And they're their own worst enemies too. They're their own worst enemies too. It's not like they see it. Most of them don't see it. So painting the picture for them and creating order in their future. And then affording for the understanding that we actually have all the redistributive powers to make things easier on everybody. Because if we know it's the increased cognitive burden, the tests and the authorities and the administrative and bureaucratic bloat, and we can pull all that at the same time and put the onus on those systems on computers because they do a better job. And then re-educate everyone while giving them transitional UBI and giving those who are at the end of their life like a, what would you call it? An honorable out. Because we keep people alive at the end and they're holding on to the last of a life that they didn't think they fulfilled. And to drive the fucking coffin nail into this one, it's like, those people who are dying, they say, I wish I spent more time with my family. That's what they say. They say it every time. They're not lying to you. They're dying. They are dying. That's what they say. Hey, I wish I spent more time with my family. We should take them serious like one time for the rest of time. And then we don't have to be serious things. I don't want to be serious. I want to be a fucking jokester. But among the jokesters, joking is just hiding in the herd. It's the problem.
Yeah.
You a meme master, Brandon?
What was that?
You don't want to be a meme master? I think we met
a meme master. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go
get caught up in that.
I was delivered to, everyone else was delivered to my timeline because I don't plan. I like to set up my life so I don't have to plan for things. So if emergencies happen, I can be there for emergencies. And if someone invites me on a podcast, like I can talk to them and have a good time. Yeah,
he's helped me out. He's been there for me.
That's how I schedule my time. And the only reason I can be there during emergencies is because I schedule my time like that. Things that I plan for are like having children. Like I'll have another child next year and I'm going to make sure that I have my time free to spend with that child when it is awake, because that's your duty. And the children want that more than they want the stuff that whatever job you're going to delivers them. They want that more. They all do, and they all say that they do. So there is no bones about it that you are being tricked into debt slavery.
Right.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not being hyperbolic. That's not something I do. But it's not something I do. That's what I don't do it when there's an audience. I'll do it in close company. Right. But you will know I'm being deadly serious, but optimistic, because I'm American, and that might make me stupid and naive. But
no, you don't come across as the American who is like smack the beer on the head and drink it. You know, that's
that is a stereotype.
It's like that's the Americans that I see here. But we talked for almost like 2 hours, so I hope that you guys really enjoyed this conversation with us three.
Well, you crushed it. And all the love, Boone. It was nice meeting you and talking to you. And Sean, I'll talk to you soon. We talk all the time.
So I really hope you guys enjoy. Yeah. So any last words before we sign off?
A good way to develop healthy bonds and healthy friendship moving forward. And that's what we're doing here. And this is healthy, in my opinion. It's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. And like I said, I will link all the information down below. So platform, this is to my friends who have podcasts and stuff on YouTube channel. Platform people that you don't want to talk to. I'm gonna have somebody who don't believe I belong in heaven. Fuck it.
Nice.
So it's like fuck it. he's going to hurt my feelings and I'm probably going to hurt his feelings, but whatever, that's how we grow. Of course, I'm a female, so it's a little bit different between men and women, the conversation, but you know, I have a high masculinity trait. So that's why I live like I'm in prison. I fight the biggest guy, you know, and so that's my mistake. And of course, you know, it's for me to learn.
That's not an error. That makes the men look very weak, and you're doing us a big favor.
I'm only like 4 foot something. I shrunk. So I live like I'm a dude, you know what I mean? No, I wouldn't say that comes out wrong, but I live like my masculinity trait comes out because I care about pride. I care about responsibility. I care about being competent. I care about telling the truth and things like that. So this is me living up to my principle and my values and backing that up and talking to people that don't necessarily agree with me. And so this is what I'm doing. And I hope that my friends platform you, Brandon, because you're fucking awesome. And Sean, you guys are awesome. Yeah. So
spasmmedia.com, and we have True Spasm Media on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can follow us on there.
And then Brandon, you have your own little podcast and stuff no?
That's good enough. I'm easily found, and my audiences are those who the contributors reach out to personally until it's not.
Yeah. So I think you're just gonna have to stop recording because you're the host, Brandon.
Oh yeah, I will hit end.
Yeah.
Actually, let me hit stop.
There you go. I think I need to stop at my end. Let me see.
Yes. If anyone else is recording, you'll have to stop as well.
Okay, let me stop this.
Boone, I thank you very much. That went longer than I thought.